This is the Israel Bathsheba Werprinsky Family Circle reunion on October 11th, 1992, doing an oral history on Frieda and Abraham Fishman.
Okay. I'm Abraham Fishman. The Yiddish name is Avrom, and this is my wife, Frieda, and we call it now. And I have 3 children, Gladys, Fred, and Leonard. And then I have 6 grandchildren, Sherry, Michelle, Rebecca, Stephen, Lincoln, and Anna, which are wonderful children and grandchildren. My parents' name was Samuel Fishman and Golda Fishman. We came to this country right at the beginning of the Russian Revolution. In fact, I remember that at the beginning when Lenin and Trotsky became the power of they called them it didn't come the Soviet Union. They called themselves beginning. And then we, at that time, we hoped that we'll hear from our father, which we didn't hear for about 7 years. And sure enough, yes, by the way, our father sent us money.
Excuse me, before we talk about that, tell us about your life.
Well, to tell you something about Korostishu, that's where my hometown was, and also my grandparents and my parents lived there. After I don't remember exactly the year that my father left for America, but I know it was 7 years he was here. By the time he tried to get it to America.
Abe, before we go to America, tell us, what did your father do in Korostisha? Where did you live?
You mean
in Korostisha? Where did you live? What was life like? What did your father do? How did he earn his money?
Well, I can't tell you too much about it because when my father left, I was very young. See, I know he had a raboch. It's like a place where you make a tool room, like, and he used to make parquet floors. Mm-hmm. And build it in the winter time, and in summer times he used to take these the flooring and all that, and go out and install it in very rich people in their homes. Because we didn't have no pocket floor. We had earth floors, in our town, Only the rich people that used to have. So that was his trade. He used to go away like for about 2 months or 3 months, come home, make a baby, go back again.
And what about your grandparents during
My
this
grandparents, at that time, this is all now before the revolution,
Okay.
It all changed. My grandfather had a brick factory. In fact, they called them the Tzigelnik, right? And he also had a store from leather. There, and they used to buy leather, make shoes. It's not like you buy regular shoes, you go in the store, and they make it to order, like. And that was his business. He also, I heard that he used to lend money to other people, but a very small interest. In fact, some people that couldn't afford it was like a free loan. He didn't charge much interest.
Was there other family too, like on a holiday? Did your grandparents brothers and sisters come to celebrate Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur with the family?
We sure did.
Who would be sitting at the table? Let's say at a Rosh Hashanah table. Who would be sitting at the table?
It would be our grandparents.
Okay.
And,
Israel and Bathsheba.
Yeah, and then it was after we didn't not from outsiders, only from the town. Nobody came to visit us during the day, but it was only actually my parents and my family, and his grandfather was there, but I don't remember anybody else.
No brothers?
I don't remember. No, Abby and Fanny. Abby and Fanny was
But I'm talking about your grandparents, brothers and sisters.
No.
Feta Shire and...
No. You're talking about my mother's grandparents, right?
Right.
No.
No.
I don't remember being
Mother's
together.
parents.
Your mother's parents.
Your mother's
yes.
parents.
And those, I remember that we didn't have nothing to eat, and we couldn't like celebrate. Sometimes we used to get at night and start digging out some turnips or potatoes in the field. If they catch me, they'd kill me, but we had nothing to eat. So I used to go into the fields and dig, and get home. But
Is there anything else you can remember about your grandparents, your mother's parents?
my mother's parents, what did you'd like to know? They were wonderful people. They were, and I'll never forget the Friday morning. She used to make, I think in Yiddish you call Retchen latkes every Friday morning, and she would make she'd take out the fat from a goose and make grieben, and that was our lunch, latkes, and put the fat from the, and also grieben. That was, we looked forward to that Friday. It was only, I guess, before the revolution. After that, when the revolution started, we stopped it at. We did not eat it, but we had to actually steal some, places.
All right, now, the first people from your family who emigrated to the United States, who were those people, and how was their leaving, how did their leaving affect those who remained behind? First, who were the people who left first?
The only that I do remember leaving Russia was Max, actually. I don't remember Morris.
And my mother.
And who else?
Becky, my mother.
Becky.
I don't remember you. I don't remember you.
You were too young.
Becky. I don't remember
You were
her.
too young then.
Yeah.
When they left about 1910.
Oh,
So
well,
you were too young.
I was only about 2 years old.
Can I tell a little story of my grandfather?
Sure.
Which impressed me so
Yeah.
much. Abe told me about it years ago.
He speaks a lot.
Grandfather called Max in for talk to him for
His brother Max.
No, his grandson Max. Gloria's father.
Oh, all right.
Gloria's father.
His brother Max.
No.
Yeah.
His
Gloria's
brother,
father.
yes,
His
right.
brother Max.
Yes.
Yes.
I thought you meant his father.
No, his brother Max.
He said, his grandfather said, Max, I want to talk to you about something. Somebody came today and told me that you was rowing on a boat on a Shabbos. So Max became so bewildered that his grandfather found out what he did on a Shabbos, that he went, his grandfather saw how bewildered he was and how bad he felt. So he looked at him and he said, I knew you wouldn't do a thing like that.
He gave him an out.
Yeah.
He was.
I couldn't get over
Well,
that.
tell us how observant
Yeah,
they
he
were.
was. Well, he was observant man, but he wasn't what I call fanatic. He was like he wanted. Somebody told him about it. He wanted to convince himself that Max didn't do it, but he didn't want to come out in the point, So
He looked on the bright side
right.
of things, to put a right,
Yeah.
a good
He
color.
didn't want to really hurt his feelings.
Yes. I used to be at the kids that ran, Frieda, Before they used to have a flea market every month. They called it. It was so. The rabbi. I used to skip that day, I used to go around, with the kids. I must have been about maybe 8 years old, maybe 9 years old. And before the rabbi called me in and they put me on with the country clock. So I said, what are you doing? I said, tomorrow you're going to be bad. So, so I told him to my Zayda, so he complained to the rabbi, you know, why don't you trust my grandson, you know? Why don't you have a little faith in that maybe he wouldn't skip this time?
Okay, so now you remember Max leaving.
Max?
Is that what you said? Who do you remember leaving?
No, your uncle, Max.
Uncle Max, I remember when we lived with that, I think you had about Avi's friend drowning. Remember, I was at that swimming with them at that time, and he lived from that house. He had a little store. The landlord, I remember, he had a food store or something. That's why I only remember Max, and he was going to be. He talked about going to America.
What year would you say that was?
How old were you?
Was your father in America already then?
No.
Oh, so it was before 1916?
Oh, yeah. Oh, before. They,
Before the revolution?
Morris, Babrinsky, and Becky,
Left earlier.
and Max were in America already before my father came up. And how my father came to America, I have no idea. I know you needed those days only $50 to show security. But I don't know if he added his own money, which he did, because he had a good trade. And then then we came to America, 7 years later. We used to get every month, we used to get money. That was before the revolution. We used to get like $10 or so, and $10 those days, we lived wonderful, And when the revolution started, we didn't get any money, so our grandparents supported us. So my mother didn't like to take anything, even from his own parents. So he said, I'm going to write it on the book, how much every month you're getting. And when it came to, the delegate came ready, to bring us out to America. And
Where did the delegate come from?
Yeah, the delegate came from the United States. Remember, did I tell you about
No, tell us.
My father sent money. I don't know how much money it was, but as I understand, it was almost as much money as the delegate got. It was about $1,500, and it was right before the revolution. And when the revolution started, everybody printed their own money. When the $1,500 got to Russia, they gave us, you couldn't even buy a bag flour for that money because it didn't worth anything. It was cheaper to wallpaper the walls with money than buying, it wasn't worth anything. So, yeah, and then after the revolution was already, as I said before, beginning of Lenin and Trotsky, that was quiet already, and the working people were treated first. They as far as nourishment, because they used to bring in kitchens, and the only thing you have to do is stand in line, and they ask you, what did your father do? They ask what my father does. I tell you, he's a carpenter, a stolyer. He did ask me where he is. I was told to get a line, that the voice in line. I couldn't say what my Zeta did, or my grandparents, because they were business people. They were the lower class of people. So let's see what.
Okay, so the delegate, did you say?
Yeah, right. The delegate, you want to know how he came here?
Right.
So a delegate came from the United States to Poland. He couldn't get into Russia. Poland was more as a anti-communist country at that time, and they let us know it was through the yard, so they let us know we have somebody looking for us. And he sent somebody from Poland to Russia to tell us that there's a delegate in Poland to bring us to America with money. And
So then what happened? Who went to Poland?
after who went to Poland is my grandparents, my Aunt Fanny, and Uncle Abe, Nate. I mean, it's my uncle, Uncle Abe, and my family.
And weren't the Poles also with you?
Who?
What next?
The Poles, Anna and
No,
her
no,
parents, did
no,
they
I-
come
I-
across with you?
No, I don't remember any of them. No, not together. No.
How about Uncle Max?
Which man?
Uncle
Max
Max.
Max
Raprinsky.
Raprinsky? He was United States. They all came in. He was already here. And so.
How did you come?
Eh?
How did you come?
Yeah, so we had so when we find out there's a delegate waiting for us, we tried to, how do we get across the border? There's no way you're getting anybody like you like we, you couldn't get out of Russia, So our Uncle Abe, let's say Uncle Abe, that time he was, if I was about 12 years old, I think I'm about 9 years.
He was
maybe
about
9
22,
years, older
21
than
or
9,
22.
right? Uncle Abe. So your mother's 7 years older than I am?
That's
Around that
not
time.
important.
Well, anyway.
Abe was 20 in 1920, so judge from that.
Yeah,
He was born in
20.
1900.
Well, anyway, he was at Rakoff. You know what Rakoff is? At that age?
Look at his son.
What he did for us, he saved our life.
Can you tell us about that?
So he figured out how you going to get it out of Russia. He was with us that time. Before that, he used to live in Kiev. He was all over. So he got a hold of some people that he knows, and he bought a pair of racing horses in a wagon. And he told us all about that, what he's going to do. And he got us together one night, and he put us on a wagon. There was my grandparents, Fanny, A.B., all of us, all that. And we stole the border. And that man paid off the guards. He knew where we were going to go through the border. It's only a short distance from Russia to Poland that time, the border, just across the border. And he paid off some of them that at this time, as the horses are waiting, it's going to go by. And please leave him alone. And he gave the money. Money he had, because that's all he had to do is ask delegate for money. And
Who was in that wagon?
with my
people.
grandparents, A.B., Fanny,
Fanny,
your mother, Fanny, and my family.
well, tell us who
your
in your
family.
family. Tell us
Yeah.
who in your family.
Yeah,
Name the
It
names.
was myself and my wife, Frieda.
No, your sister Fanny.
It was Fanny, Max, I'll go to the age. Max, Fanny, A.B., Morris, and
Harry?
I called him Ali at the time, and Harry.
Wait, what did you call him?
Lenny, Ellie.
Ellie?
And we all got in the wagon. It was at midnight almost. We all got in the wagon.
Did you take anything with you?
No, didn't have anything there. Over there we rented we lived in a one bedroom apartment, all of it except Fanny Morris lived with our grandparents. We had one bedroom for three of us, Max, myself, and Harry. And Fanny and Morris lived with our grandparents. they slept there, and it was like it was like a different family, like, you know. And we started to cross the border, and somehow somebody started to shoot at us, and Harry was wearing a hat, you know, this Russian hat, and the bullet went right to the head. And after we got to, we looked around, you know, his hat was blown off. He looked around and see the hat had a hole in it. And that's the way we got to Poland.
Is the hole?
and we got to Poland, and we were, you know, like we were rich people. You know, we had a delegate there already, and in fact, we lived with our grandparents in Rovno. With not Meg, Fanny, myself, Morris, and Harry were with the grandparents. We lived we had a beautiful apartment, considered the state. It was a beautiful apartment. Max and my mother lived in Warsaw. My mother was those days you would say what do you call a women liberal. She belonged to some organization.
A feminist.
Yeah, feminist. She was certainly today they call them the Assassinikas. It's like more like the social between socialism and Zionism, you know. And they lived in Warsaw, and they used to go every day to dinners and theaters. Max and my mother, and to get the money for them, they used to send me from the delegate was in Rovno. They used to sew money around my body and send me to Warsaw. It's a 24-hour ride from Rovno to Warsaw. I used to ride there, and I used to give them the money and then go back to Rovno every once a month. Yeah.
Is this Max your uncle or Max your brother?
No, Max, my uncle, is in
Oh,
America.
I just wanted to distinguish because the names are the same.
Yeah, Max.
What happened to Abe and Fanny?
And when we got to Rome, I don't know, Abe must have sold the horses, and he got some money, and he went into business. He bought a liquor store. And he was looking also for a place where they make from you make leather. You know, that was his father's business, in the leather business. So he was, I don't know if he ever got that store or not, but I know, but he didn't take care of the liquor. He hired somebody and took care of it. He was running around with his mother all over Poland, from town to town. They had a wonderful time.
How long were they there, living this kind of life?
Well, see, we came with our grandparents to the United States.
When was that?
In about 1920.
Who came?
My grandparents, my mother's parents, and Fanny and Abe, I don't remember. I think they something happened. We had to remain for a while. I don't know at that time. I don't. I wanted to ask my.
Why don't you tell us about who came with you and how did you come?
We came to America with our grandparents.
Who were?
Israel, Basheva, and my mother, Golda, and the 5 children. And when my father became a citizen in the United States, we also automatically became citizens in Russia. Of course, Russia didn't recognize us as American citizens. But when we came to this country, we didn't even have to go into Ellis Island because we were citizens, but we had to go through because on account of our grandparents. Grandparents weren't citizens, and we went through all of them together. We went to Ellis Island, and that's when my father, and I don't know who else met us at the Ellis Island. You know, isn't it something maybe you
All right,
must have remembered.
that's not important.
Yeah, and that's how we came that's how we came to this country. We came to.
How long a trip was it? It came by boat? And how long a trip was it?
Yeah, we came with the to the Conrad line. You had the Conrad line, and the name of the boat was Lapland. We came to Germany. I think that Fanny and Abe came to France. Didn't they come a different? Yeah.
We'll check
anyway,
that out.
yeah. And we came to Brooklyn, New York. In fact, that the day that we came to, and we brought and Rosie's and Marat Lipinski's house. What is I forgot his name. Gene's brother, youngest.
Dave?
Dave was born on that day that we came to the United States. The same day that we came, he was born. And from there, we went to the country.
Where was the country?
The country was, my father bought a farm in Ellenville, New York. He had, he worked in the city. Later, Max also, my brother Max also worked in the city with him. But at that time, he worked in the city, and Uncle Max and Tante Heide, that's my Uncle Max, that's my mother's brother, Max. They managed the farm. They had a boarding house. They had a we had a factory. The first time I saw a car, they had a car, but they bring in the borders from the city, from Ellenville to the farm. We had 12 cows. We had 2 horses. We had a chicken coop. Over 500 chickens.
And who lived on that farm with you?
On that farm, yeah, at that farm was
Becky and
our
Joe
grandparents, Solik and Bashiva, and I'll never forget when he came out. And we had an orchard, about 130 trees of apples. And when we first came to the farm, he started looking around. He sees the apples laying on the ground. In Europe, we give anything to get an apple, you know. So he says to he calls over his son Max. Max was the head of. He said, Max, my God, what are you, look what you're doing, you're leaving so many apples. So he said, Tata, when you will fatsoen, picking the apples to the boom, it costs them twice what they be lost at apple pound. So, you know, he couldn't get over that there'd be 11 apples. And later on, we used to get the farmer next to us was a very nice, gentle German man. He used to pick up apples, he used to pick from a tree, make apple cider. And that apple cider we used to save for the bottles later. It was an alcoholic drink, you know. It's not like the sweet cider here. It was like made into a powerful and strong drink. And that's what we used to enjoy. Yeah. What else?
Sam, I think, has a question.
You wanted to add something or ask him about with our
They
parents?
were there originally. They were there the first year.
Before they came?
I guess so. I don't
With
remember.
Max?
Who was there?
Our parents.
Joe and Rebecca, my parents, were also partners on that farm. Maybe that was before you came.
With Max?
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't
with
know
Max
that.
and,
But no, they had a farm. Your parents had a farm.
Afterwards.
Yeah, I remember going. I remember going. They had to pay
Yeah,
fences
yeah.
to get to the lake. You remember?
But
That was
originally,
after he said.
originally
Well, I didn't know that.
the three were partners there.
That's
Who
the
were the
first
three,
time I hear
Sam?
it.
Okay, wait, Abe,
Rebecca and Joe and Max.
Yeah. Wait. I have something else. Being that you say that when later on, after being on the farm for a while, my mother wasn't too happy. First of all, we didn't have friends for the, you know, for our children. You know, it was. I would say, the school even that we went to there was mostly Gentile people, very few. So she wasn't too happy, and also, I know we should bring it up.
Yeah,
It was during that time, Uncle Max Papinski was, he wanted to be actor all his life. He was a very handsome and he was very good at it. He got in touch with some people in New York to bring him out to Allenville to put on Yiddish shows, you know, and he used to take him up to the farm. He used to have like 20, 30 people, and used to feed him and sleeping. That wasn't during the summertime. There was no winter time, and they used to put on theaters. You know, in fact, my sister was one of the actresses, and Ida was very good, also. And during the time, you know, they in order to feed it all that, my Mac, that's all he had to sign, you know, sign. They used to deliver everything and sign that so much money, and it got so that we owed so much money that the farm wasn't worth that money that we owed for the food and for the
things that you bought.
So we couldn't afford it. So I said my mother wanted to move to New York, wanted to be with her husband. You know, he used to come out weekends. He used to come out sometimes every other weekend with Max. Really, Max was my brother Max was with him, and we started to want to sell the farm. So we find out that we don't have anything. But in order to change names, to make good the debts that we owed, my mother was the one that had it signed her name, and she got $50 for that. So why didn't somebody else have it? So in other words, maybe they separated that before we came, because when we came to this country, your father and mother was not there. Did you have your mother had it the fruit store in Elm after the farm?
That was
After the farm. But I remember going from our farm, walking to your farm. So they weren't in partner at that time, right? So they separated.
That's right.
Well, I never knew they were
I
partners.
have a copy of the deed.
Huh?
I have a copy of the deed.
Oh,
I got a copy from the
To make a copy for the album.
When you say she signed her name, could
Have
you
you
clarify
moved?
that? I don't understand what you mean. That
to sign away the farm. You know, it's like they couldn't take unless they signed. And she's the only one. My father and my mother, the only one that signed the paper that I remember. I didn't even think Max and I had signed it. Then we moved to Brooklyn, New York, and we moved to Snedeker Avenue. And Rose, well, you were born in that apartment, right?
She was born in a hospital.
We lived in the hospital. After they came back from the farm, they came back because my mother was expecting me.
Yeah, right. You
But I was
became
born
friends.
in-
Then you moved after us, right?
I wasn't
Yeah.
there yet.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, your family moved after us. I don't remember where you lived, but when we moved
We
from the
lived-
farm, we
when
got Snedeker Avenue
They
and
came to
Hagman.
your mother's, I think, until they got their own apartment.
Yeah,
They first came.
We lived in their
all
apartment.
right.
yeah, yeah. Oh, you mean it's being the? Oh, I thought I didn't know. I was just talking.
That's what you're supposed to
Oh
do.
my God, I didn't know that. Well, anyway, from the farm, we moved to Brooklyn, New York. And I don't remember, Sam, if we moved before you did to Brooklyn? I think you did. I think we moved before you did, right? And our parents, our grandparents had an apartment on 2nd Street, that's right near the park, on 2nd Street. And he used to keep busy teaching children. I don't know if it's Hebrew, I think it was Hebrew, not Yiddish. Yiddish, my father was more like socialistic at that time, you know. He used to teach Yiddish, he used to make a living that way. Besides, of course, all the children supported him, but he didn't want it. He was
Proud.
Pride wanted to,
Proud.
right, he wanted to earn his own living, and he did. And that's what was going to take. Oh yes, and we used to visit him. In fact, I used to do his floors every weekend. They used to come and clean up the floors. I don't know if he gave me something, probably did pay me something. And we used to talk about it, and I kept on complaining a lot of times. When we were together, my grandfather, when we were in company with Sam, and that when they already moved to Brooklyn, my grandfather used to say, Sam, bring me the book. Sam, bring me this. So I said, say this. Why didn't you ask me? Why didn't you ask me to do it? Why do you have to ask Sam all the time? So you can tell, he said, you know, when I asked Sam to bring me the Siddur, so you bring me the glasses, you bring me the shoes, and when I asked you for the Siddur, you bring me the Siddur. I couldn't read it by then. That's why I asked Sam. So it was at that time, you know, besides Sam trying to tell us about the atomic bomb that time. I remember we walked him and Sam used to explain me about that was ready with working with the atomic energy.
Well, that was a lot of years
you know,
later.
You used to go like, you know, come, you know.
Tell us about the grandparents, about their health.
I didn't know that my grandparents was that sick. Then I find out that my grandfather, that's my mother's parents,
Right.
father,
Israel and Bishop.
had leukemia. At that time, I didn't even know what leukemia. They used to, the only way they kept them alive, they used to boil certain meats and used to drink it like the soup of that. That kept him alive for a while. But he was, after being 2 years, I think, in the country, he died. And my grandmother died 6 months after. I don't remember you being that sick, but I think she died because she missed.
Were all the children here by that time?
Yes. Yes. Oh, yes. There was. Wait, I'm trying to think that when we moved from the farm, I don't remember about Abe and your mother. You know, I don't remember how they came in or when they came in. I know they came in on a different, not the way we did. We came in, I think, to oh, I forgot.
Well, we'll check that out. That's not important. We'll check that out. When did you meet Frieda?
I met Frieda in 1930.
Gotta get this right.
No, yeah, I was thinking 1937. I was with a motorcycle going to Mexico.
Yeah, tell us about that. Tell us about this. All right, tell us about, let's go back a couple of years. We're not, come back, but let's go to the motorcycle.
Yeah.
What did you do with the motorcycle?
What did I do with it? Well, I earned a lot of money at that time. You know, I was already became a a floor finisher. And those days, we got 13, 20 a day. It was like now, hundreds and hundreds of dollars, you know. And I'm talking about 1936, 37. I became a union man, and of course I worked 6 months without a penny. I didn't get paid. I made twice as much money for the man that taught me how to do that trade, and but he didn't pay me. That was the understanding, you know. I had to work 6 months to become a union man, and then I was on my own. So, what else did you want to know?
Now, what did you? And then you bought a motorcycle?
Oh yeah.
What kind?
I bought a Harley Davidson, 47, and I had a friend of mine, Sam. His name was Sam Bilt. In fact, he signed when we got married. He signed the witness to our marriage. Sam Bilt and Sylvia. They married about 6 months before we did. And I bought him a motorcycle. His motorcycle wasn't that, you know, he also had a good trade. He used to be a weaver. Like if you make a hole in it, you used to weave it that you'd never tell. So he bought a motorcycle, but not the kind I bought. That time I paid $350. I had all the equipment and I had saddles, and we both went to Mexico, as far as Mexico City. We used to have a tent and sleep outside, and I think during the 5 weeks that it took us the trip, we used to maybe go once a week to go into a hotel so we can wash up and clean up. Otherwise, we slept outside.
What brought you back? What brought you back from Mexico? That phone call.
Oh, yeah. They called me, yeah, they called me Petey, right? He said, you have another need, Petey. Petey was born. So, well, yeah, we went, so we started, I said to my friend, we have to go home, I have another niece. And yeah, well, with Shirley, I had on Shirley, right? And then we came home. But there's something else I wanted to say about that.
Fanny was the only one married at that time.
Oh, what else do you want to know, Frieda?
Now go into when you
met
and Frieda.
What did you say when you saw Vidi?
Oh, yeah.
You didn't want to say that.
I didn't. No. I thought of it. I wouldn't say.
My mother.
Yes.
Watch it.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
I would say, where's your face? She had hair all over. Say, where's your face?
That's why I came back from Mexico. Right. For this, I came back from Mexico.
Okay, go ahead into when you met Aunt Frieda.
When I met Aunt Frieda? Oh, yeah. When I was introduced to Aunt Frieda through a very tragic, my brother Morris's wife was Gussie. And Gussie was somehow related to my wife, was related to Frieda. It's a distant relationship, but that's how I was introduced to Frieda, to our uncle, which was also Gussie's father. So that's how they, so we, the place, was it, no, the second date I had with her, we went to an opera and a wonderful place. The third date I had with her, I think, the first was it?
The first was the opera and dinner.
Oh, yeah.
Jim Diamond.
Yeah, right, that's what I said, yeah. And but the second or third, I don't remember. I figured, well, I know already, maybe I'll take her to Canarsie. That was the, you know, we used to pull around a little bit, I had a car, I was, that time I bought a car at least, but a 7-passenger car. The children and I, because we had a fight every time. I wanted a car, Max wanted a date, and Morris was quiet. He was just quiet in the family. He said, if I didn't want it and Mac didn't want the car, then he would take it. But otherwise, he had no chance. Harry was a youngster yet, you know. So, yeah,
So at that time, the only one married was Fanny?
And Morris.
No,
And Morris.
No,
Morris was married to
Morris was, Fanny was the first one.
Married who?
Louis Dublin.
Okay.
Then was Morris. Morris married before Max, I think. Yeah, Morris married Gussie.
Fresh.
And then after that, I got married. Yeah, I got
Tell us
married.
about the state.
Huh?
Tell us about the second. We're waiting to hear about the state.
Yeah, so as I said, we went to Canarsie for, you know, we were already acquainted. I figured I could touch her a little bit. So while fooling around, the guy comes over with a gun and says, "Get out of the car." So, you know, I see a gun, I jump out of the car. So I want to take Frieda. Like, no, you said, let her here. So I said, look, fellas, you can take the car. But and another thing, in that car, we made a trip to Mexico. I just told you, you know, with the motorcycle, we had all our pictures in the car. You know, I had all the equipment in there. So I said, look, take everything that's in there and let my girlfriend out. You finally said we had to walk to the police station about I don't know how many miles to Canarsie somewhere to report the stolen car. And that was my pleasure. I wanted to get acquainted with her.
They never pulled her out with
And after the car was found about a couple of weeks later, it was all, you know, stripped and everything what I had in there. Even those days I had a radio, you know, at that time a radio. But money didn't mean anything to me. I said I made $13.20 a day there at that time, and you could have lived, your rent at that time maybe was $10 a week, and on 2 days work, I could live a whole week. But it was also seasonal work. It was only in the summer. In the winter time, I used to travel. I went, as I said, I went to Mexico. The next day, I went to Florida. I went to California. And we traveled during the slow time. And
Okay, Frieda, so you came on the scene, and what kind of relationship did you have with Golda?
Wait, hold on. What was the date that you got married first?
the date we got married
Well, the
was,
second,
yeah,
second date,
the 5th.
on the second day they proposed to me.
Yeah, I was going to get married on Lincoln's birthday, the 12th, isn't it February?
Right.
But it was taken. I couldn't get it. They asked me, you wanted before or after? I said, before. So the 5th of February, we were married.
What year?
It's 1939. Right during the World's Fair in New York. Remember that's the first time I saw television. You remember anything about the World's Fair in 1939?
Okay, Aunt Frieda, tell us about Golda and what you remember.
Mother Golda was about the most wonderful woman in the whole wide world. As far as I was concerned, as far as a lot of people that knew her were concerned. She was gentle, she was kind, she was an activist in those days already, very much aware of what's going on in the world. And
very liberal.
And very liberal, and very kind above everything else, and very kind to her children to the extreme, to such an extreme where it's impossible to describe. For instance, she was ill, and I took her to the doctor, and the doctor diagnosed her case as having a tumor. You hear? I'm going to talk louder. I'm going to try. On her way home, when I helped her with her coat, my hand was shaking. I was a little upset. She says, what are you doing? What's the matter? Don't worry, everything's going to be all right. And on her way home on the bus, she told me, Frieda, do me a favor. Don't tell Max. what's wrong with me. Max has trouble with his stomach. Don't tell. Don't tell Fanny. Fanny's got the children. She's busy.
They had also Max.
She's with the children. She's taken up. And don't tell Mars. Abe, don't tell Abe. Don't tell Harry. Harry's only a child. You know. She ended up with, figuring out all her accounts and all the children not to tell anybody, you know, so nobody wouldn't be worried about her. This is the kind of a person she was.
In Yiddish. Did she speak to you in Yiddish? She didn't speak English that much.
No, Yiddish, yeah. Yeah, and I spoke Yiddish fluently, you know. And, what can I say? We were so close.
Was she a religious lady?
Not.
She used to go to the holy holidays. She used to go.
But she was.
Yes.
But she wasn't religious.
And my father did. My father was agnostic. We followed our footsteps because we came from Russia at the time, you know, and we were a little bit, you know, with the communistic.
Did you have a religious education? Were you bar mitzvah?
Oh, I had the Cheder. Oh yeah, I went to, that's when we were still in Russia. Yeah, I went to a Cheder, and then I went to Yeshiva. I finished the learning what they offered me in courses, and they sent me to Zhytomyr. And I was there in Zhytomyr that I cast out, you know, but when the religion started already, somehow I was changed, you know. And I dropped everything as far as religion is concerned.
He dropped to such a degree among the few rabbis he had, there was one he didn't like at all. And sometimes he used to doze off on the table. The beard would be on the table. So Abe found it necessary to get some glue, put a little glue between the table and the beard.
From the Frieda Shire, he was a stollier, a carpenter, and used to make furniture. So he used to use glue. So I took a little glue. The rabbi used to fall asleep most of the time while he was. So I put a little glue on the beard and then in the middle. Oh, did I get that time? Oh, I couldn't sit on the chair for months.
But he knew, the rabbi knew who it was. A smart rabbi, I'll tell you.
If I had to bring it up, I was trying to hide it, but no children. Yeah.
And Frieda, how do you, like, when you first came into the family and you saw all these brothers and everything, how did, you were already part of the family because
They were kind of sisters. She didn't have the brother.
No, I really didn't know him, even though one of my second cousins was married or engaged to one of the fellows. But I didn't know the family at all, but I fell in love with each and every one of them. And I had a very wonderful, close relationship with Fanny, with all the brothers. They used to kid around with me a lot of times and say, if only us had seen you first, I'd run up to America with you.
Who was that, Max? Max said that. Max Webrinsky said that.
And Uncle Max.
He was afraid.
And Harry and I were so close, I don't think a sister or brother could be closer. And then Max, Uncle Max, and of course my mother-in-law. She was my idol. Most wonderful person in the whole world.
Where are we now?
Well, you're married,
Yeah.
you've been here, you've had your car stolen.
Right. And as I said before, I think I told you before that after being on the farm for a while, my mother did not like it there. Fanny Mac was away with not so much of it. Mac, but Fanny I think was about 3 years younger than Max, than my brother Max. And she was looking for somebody she should meet, and she didn't like the farm. There were a lot of, Gentile, and she was afraid, So she kept on telling my father that she wants to get out of the farm. And that's when it came when we find out we don't know no more, you know, and we moved to Brooklyn, and then it's our life, you know it's this best.
But Fanny met Louis in Ellenville, isn't that where he
Who?
came? Fanny met Louis in Ellenville.
Fanny did not meet. I don't remember. Louis' parents lived in Ellenville.
He had
but
a shoe repair.
Fanny's Louis was raised in the orphan asylums. He was never with his parents.
Right.
Somehow, I don't know if he couldn't get along with his mother-in-law. Yeah. And he was raised in the orphan asylum. And they met somehow in New York. Fanny used to go out with never forget it, the fellow she went out with a Kenter. He loved her, but she somehow fell in love with Lou Dubner, which he came from orphan asylum. Like he didn't have no trade actually, and they didn't know.
But he was American.
Well, I mean, that's the way it was, you know. Is that true, Speedy? The mama told you the same thing?
They met.
Yeah, right. And she fell in love and she didn't hear. My mother was against it. My father had never to say. My father used to read a book or read a paper all his life, you know. But my mother was against it, you know, but it didn't help. The more she was getting. And in fact, after my sister got married, they lived with us for years and years, you know. They were together with us. And what else do you want to know? What else?
I think maybe we should go.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna